My name is Andrew Markowitz, and today is my bar mitzvah.
Hello, we are Jason and Elaine Markowitz. Today is Sunday, January 24th, 2010, and we hired Joe from PTM Video to do our son's bar mitzvah. We hired him on December 6th for our December 19th, 2009 bar mitzvah for our son Andrew. We got Joe's name from the synagogue on the recommended vendor list, and I looked called Joe, emailed him. I also looked into a couple other vendors, and we decided to go with Joe due to excellent customer service. Joe was very timely in response to email. I talked to Joe on the phone, thought his pricing was very reasonable, and probably within a day or two of researching it, we decided to hire Joe for the event. Throughout the process, Joe was very customer friendly. He wanted to know when we were going to have the rehearsal for the bar mitzvah. I called Joe a couple days before I gave him the date. Joe was actually at the rehearsal before we were. He was there talking to the rabbi, just scoping out the synagogue just to see where he'd set up, introduce himself to the rabbi and stuff like that. So, I mean, that was great that he was able to get out there ahead of time, make sure he was comfortable with everything before the actual event occurred a few days later.
It was funny when we got to the rehearsal, Joe reintroduced himself to the rabbi and mentioned how they had met before, and the rabbi clearly didn't remember him, and I was struck by that because I felt more confident even in selecting him, because that meant that he was so unobtrusive in the ceremony that they didn't even notice him and that he wasn't a distraction or a disruption at any point. On the day of Andrew's bar mitzvah, of course, we had that epic snowstorm, and our phone was ringing off the hook with people saying they couldn't make it, including our DJ, including our photographer, which we totally understood. So when Joe called us that day, we were kind of thinking, oh, here we go again. And what was actually funny is that he was already there at the synagogue, which was awesome. That was a really nice feeling to know that we at least had one thing going right for us that day. And when he heard our dilemma with our photographer, he tried to hook us up with somebody else. And it didn't work out, but we really appreciated that effort. So then we got there, and he was already setting up and was very reassuring with all of us as we were, getting ready in the midst of all the snow and cancellations and everything else that could have possibly gone wrong. And not only did he do an awesome job during the ceremony, unobtrusive, no disruption whatsoever, but clearly taking care of everything very well. He also was willing to stay after and try and get some still photos for us so that we'd have something in addition to the video for the event. And it really meant the world to us because he went above and beyond. I'm sure he wanted to get out of there as fast as he could as that snow was piling up out there. But he really took the time and was very patient and kind. We kept posing. We had little kids, so we had to chase them down to get them into the pictures, and at no point was there any impatience or I really got to get out of here, or I've already stayed past my time. He was just so wonderful, and he made sure we got a shot of Andrew cutting the cake, since we weren't going to have the ceremony. So there were some things that of course didn't go as planned on that day, but it meant the world that he was there and willing to accommodate us and tried to make up for some of the things that we wouldn't have after the ceremony. And then when we saw the video, we were floored because it was so awesome. Because one of the things that Joe did was added kind of a personal touch, and he put in like the headlines from the day and a little bit of the weather forecast before it got into the whole ceremony. And the video came out awesome, and it was quick. We got it I think it was the Monday, which was after. Like that. But it was so well done. You would have thought that he labored over it for a month. We were just thrilled with the result, and can't say enough good things about how he handled that day and the days leading up to it. We really appreciate everything that Joe did for us.
And Joe, he pretty much made the bar mitzvah. Without Joe, we would have had no memories of the day of event. We would have had no pictures, no video. The bar mitzvah can't be recreated. It's a one-time event, so if we had no video, that we would have had nothing to look back on. So, and with the weather, we would have understood if Joe couldn't have made it. Mm-hmm. As other people locally weren't able to make it, snow was piling up. But Joe, like I said, he was there at the synagogue before we even arrived. It was a 11 o'clock ceremony. I think Joe got there 9 or 9:30,
Yeah.
taking video outside the synagogue, and he was doing that when we got there, and it was just great. He pretty much saved the day and made it a memorable event for Andrew and his family, so we really appreciate it.
One of the things that I really appreciated about Joe is I felt like he really captured the human moments, the human element of the ceremony, because it's a very serious and somber kind of day, but he was there for the tallis ceremony when we all spoke our words to Andrew, and it's such an emotional piece of the ceremony, because this happens prior to the bar mitzvah when we're all getting ready to go out there, and my parents were there and his parents were there, and it's a really special moment, and I was really excited about how well that came across on Andrew's video, because it was really touching. I remember at the time I was kind of all over the place, up and down with my emotions, and seeing it on the video, it was really something that I hope that he'll treasure, because you could just sense the love in that room, in that portion. And there were some beautiful moments in that ceremony where you could just see, Andrew up there, and he just looked so dear and so important. It was just, the video really captured all the important parts of that ceremony, and it really was wonderful to see.
I'd just like to say again, anybody looking for a videographer for a function, we would highly recommend Joe and PTM Video to do it. As we said, everything you could ask for: professionalism, timeliness, courtesy. It was all there. We have everything positive to say about Joe. The video came out great. Service was excellent. Price very, very reasonable and competitive. And we'd highly recommend Joe for any function out there.
Yeah, I think just the fact that we're here on camera talking about him is a testament, because neither one of us enjoys the spotlight or being on film, but we really wanted to find a way to say thank you for all that he did for us on that day. And we know we're going to be booking him for our daughter